It seems that I keep getting proven right, that the gaming culture is completely cooked for the corporate gaming culture. Indies, retro games, oof, they're absolutely embarrassing the corporations and the AAA slop without even trying. We're gonna get in some really bad news, which is actually, depending on perspective, is really good news. And we're gonna get into some actual really good, crazy news about some games that keep absolutely embarrassing these AAA slop companies. And I'm here for it, man. I've been saying it for a long time. This is the way it's gonna be. Assassin's Creed franchise boss removed after AC Shadows flopped big time. I thought it was the most successful Assassin's Creed of all time. 10 out of 10. Apparently it wasn't 10 out of 10 enough.
I am a winner. I am a winner. I am a winner. Be gone!
How about that? How about
What is up,
that?
Space Pirates? This is your Admiral, the tantalizingly taboo Dr. Disaster. And if you needed further proof that Assassin's Creed Shadows was a dismal failure, look no further than the news that the person who was responsible for it, the creative director of the Assassin's Creed franchise, he just got pushed out.
Dude, I said this like a month before it happened, that I'm pretty sure that Ubisoft is just going to be bought by China. And then Tencent is just going to change everything. And everybody said that I was right. Well, not everybody. All of the retarded people who were defending these AAA corporate games, even though they were communists who don't like corporations. I don't get it. They actually have no idea what they're talking about. But apparently we do. Because every single time, every single thing that we said that was going to happen ended up happening. Or it hasn't happened yet. But we've never been proven wrong. And guess what? It's gonna get worse. And for some reason, nobody's talking about the fact that Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six is now going to be operated straight by Tencent through a studio called Vagrant Studios. Nobody talked about that, or at least I missed it.
Out of the company.
You're fired! Get out of here! Go!
Make no mistake, the headlines are all making it sound like this dude left voluntarily, and I'm sure that there is some truth to that, but given the timing of everything, Ubisoft and Tencent just formed
Yeah, why would he leave when Ubisoft is the most successful that they've ever been?
a new studio that has taken control of Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six.
Oh, he's talking about it!
Away from Ubisoft, after all, but given the timing of this announcement, I simply don't believe that this guy wasn't pushed out to some degree.
Well, by the way, I'm just gonna do this real quick, because somebody in the comments said that I was fat, that I need to go on a diet. I'm actually quite fit, and like, when I stand up, I guess it's because I'm wearing big shirts, but like, I'm like an actual fit, skinny guy. Like, I don't get it, man. People are fucking weird.
The thing is, in corporations like this, they play a lot of politics behind closed doors, and a company like Ubisoft is...
I also think they're a bunch of sexual degenerates, too. I think they're all fucking each other and themselves. And you know what? They can keep doing that.
Always going to make sure that when a tenured person like this leaves the company, they're going to make it sound like everything was totally friendly. But behind those closed doors, what they were really saying is,
Get the fuck out of here!
This now
Yeah, I'm tired of games being the same. I've been playing Fear 1 on my gaming channel, and it's just like, that was a time when they were experimenting with game mechanics. Now every game has the same game mechanics. Everything's using the same engines. Everything is just like trying to look exactly the same and trying to, you know, look the most pretty that a game could be. And I'm out on all of that shit. I was playing Fear 1. There's just crazy mechanics. And also Metro had some crazy mechanics that I've never seen in any other games since.
Former creative director for Assassin's Creed, Mark Alexis Cote, oversaw the complete failure of Assassin's Creed Shadows. The Assassin's Creed franchise finally went to feudal Japan in one of their games, as fans had been clamoring for.
Dude, they should have done this for Assassin's Creed 5. They should have went to feudal Japan for Assassin's Creed 5. Like, after Black Flag, this should have been what they did.
Since the franchise started, and this dude approved the female ninja and the black samurai main characters.
Which would have been really cool. Like, a decade ago when they were able to do things correctly.
Along with the female
And
sumo
take
wrestler
risks.
buddy that you have in the game, the weird
It's not risky to do the exact same thing that every other game is doing.
LGBT stuff in the story, and the push for Yasuke to be presented as extremely historically significant, which does not appear to be the case.
I think it's pronounced Yasuke.
But this caused the sort of controversy which prevents games from selling well and which typically ruins careers. Shadows should have sold at least as well as Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which pushed out 8 million copies in its first month.
Which, by the way, fans of Assassin's Creed fucking hated Valhalla also.
But Shadows has limped to around half that amount in several months.
Pathetic.
So yeah, on the outside looking in, this guy at Ubisoft quit, supposedly. But let's be real. Shadows was a massive failure, and we are just finding out that they had to cancel that Assassin's Creed game that was going to be set in the American Civil War because the company wanted to avoid even the potential for controversy that was something like Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Because they weren't able to do it right. And they probably realized that, oh shit, it doesn't fit the narrative because the people that we side with were actually the ones who were behind slavery and trying to keep slavery, and also formed the KKK, which were going to be the enemies of this game that they were going to make that they canceled. It is just like an obvious L.
Someone needed punished for this, so this dude got pushed out. I'm sure it wasn't that hard to get the guy to agree to go away though. Ubisoft as a company is still in dire straits. They still come off as the Titanic right after hitting the iceberg, waiting to go under. So at least this guy had...
And dude, Ubisoft does not have anything coming out anytime soon. They've got an Anno game coming out. Who plays Anno besides, like, Linus Sebastian from Linus Tech Tips? It's the only person that I've ever heard of that actually plays these games. And we got some Bethesda news. Bethesda got embarrassed. Now an Elder Scrolls 6 dev speaks out. I don't know what this is about.
Bethesda has been facing a wake-up call for years now, and I really think it began in the Fallout 4-ish days, even as far back as Skyrim.
Dude, it's been getting worse, and actually, no, I disagree. I think it started with Fallout New Vegas. I think it did. I think they realized that, oh shit, we're not the best at making Fallout games. Cancel it! We can't have this overtaking our games and making us look bad.
When you had the game, and it still doesn't run that well on the PlayStation 3, but Fallout 4 was really a turning point for myself. There was a lot to enjoy from that experience, but the clunky, dated design is one of those things that constantly gets criticized, and it has only continued. And even with Starfield, a lot of the problems that were complained about 10 years
I love Fallout 4 with mods. Starfield with mods, garbage. Because the modders didn't want to work on it because it's garbage.
years ago have only continued, and that's why discussions have been had about the future of Bethesda game studios and whether that future involves their creation engine. Now, it's important to understand here in 2025, Bethesda is still concentrating a little bit on Starfield. They have their second big expansion that's in development. Just recently, they said that, well, they remember that Starfield...
I think they need to make a Starfield overhaul. Like, get one of those modders, one of those mod teams that makes like Fallout overhauls and Elder Scrolls overhauls, and have them make an official Starfield overhaul. And I think that would be so good for the game. But they're too stupid to do that. They're too stupid to let anybody else besides them make anything because they don't want people to make them look bad. They don't want to look incompetent, which in turn makes them look incompetent.
Still does in fact exist. They promised new space gameplay in the back half of a random video that doesn't even mention Starfield in the title, but fortunately a couple weeks later we did get an official tease at the next big expansion, Terran
Bro, just play No Man's Sky. It's so much better.
Armada. Will it totally transform the experience? Will it make it a game of the year? Everybody loves Starfield suddenly? I highly doubt that.
Labor of love. You think it'll be nominated?
Shattered Space was supposed to represent that. It did not. It actually made the reputation of Starfield even worse. Hopefully with Terran Armada, it at least delivers a interesting, good experience. We'll see. I think.
Yeah, I know people who still go back and play like Fallout 4 and Skyrim. I don't know anybody who goes back to play Starfield, and this is a relatively new game.
The Starfield universe is just devoid of a lot of interest within it. There's not a lot going on that really can draw people in saying, this is the faction I love. This is the thing I want to see explored in new games.
And I don't like the teal and the purple that's in every fucking woke slop corporate game.
There just isn't that community that you see like with Fallout or the Elder Scrolls. But obviously, Bethesda's still doing some work with Starfield. We'll see if there's a future beyond Terran Armada. But they are working right now. Their main concentration, at least at their Maryland office, which is their main studio, is on the Elder Scrolls 6. And once the Oblivion remaster was released earlier this year, Todd Howard, who really wasn't involved or any of his team was involved in that remaster, was an outside studio, but he said, obviously, we're working on the 6th chapter here. And there's been little tidbits here and there. We'll talk about that in a separate video, but the Elder Scrolls 6 is very much in development, probably.
Yeah, I think they're going to focus way too much on how everything looks and make it look as pretty as possible, and then the gameplay and the characters are going to fall to the wayside.
Just a couple of years
I hope they don't
away.
do that.
And we're starting to hear a lot of conversation surrounding what the Elder Scrolls 6 should represent, and also how Bethesda Game Studios really needs to evolve as a developer.
I think they need to go back to the vibes of Daggerfall, Morrowind, and Oblivion, and forget Skyrim.
Some of that is with its writing, which in recent years has at best been competent, at worst boring and dreadful and really laughable. Fortunately, there's a ton of interesting lore and plot points like the Dwemer's fate, what's going on with the Aldmeri Dominion, the Thalmor, that I hope we do get explored in this new installment. Whether that's
and also introduce some new things, some new races, that'd be cool.
in a satisfying manner, that's a different question. But that is just one piece of the puzzle, because then there's the technical side, an aging, constantly updated engine that feels like it's running on fumes in 2025 and still isn't where it needs to be. We'll dive more into that technical aspect in a second, but indeed, the pressure is on. The Elder Scrolls 6 is one of the most highly anticipated.
I think they need to create a new engine. And don't use the Unreal Engine. Don't do it. Do not do that.
Games of all time, probably right behind the likes of Rockstar's Grand Theft Auto 6 right now. And a former developer actually said that even if the Elder Scrolls 6 is great, he still thinks Bethesda developers are going to face a lot of horrible comments being sent their way and even some threats and such. And I just can't really get behind this perspective, because we've seen other developers in this industry face a lot of criticism. I mean, you look to what CD Projekt Red went through with Cyberpunk 20.
You're not allowed to criticize anything that people make anymore, because people have jobs. Whenever you criticize things, you hurt their jobs and people will get fired. Don't you want people to have jobs? I do not care when it comes to the entertainment industry. Make good things or we're going to criticize you. And they just say that that's hate.
77, the launch day version,
just shut up and buy
developers
it.
were being constantly attacked over that. But by the time Phantom Liberty released and that 2.0 update, the tune on the game just changed drastically. And you can even look to Rockstar Games themselves. I mean, with Red Dead Redemption 2 beforehand, there was a lot of questions if they were going to be able to deliver, especially with all the years of Grand Theft Auto on.
Dude, Red Dead Redemption 2, I don't know if anybody remembers this. Apparently not from anybody that I've talked to, because they are like, I absolutely loved Red Dead Redemption 2. It was a disaster when it launched. Things were broken. It was buggy as fuck. There was game-breaking glitches constantly. Still a great game. People still loved it, but like, people forget that that was a thing. And also Red Dead Online, absolute disaster. They killed it immediately.
Online nonsense. And even Larian, say what you will, but some people were extremely skeptical over the fact that they were going to be reviving Baldur's Gate. A lot of people nervous about a developer that had no focus on the franchise beforehand getting involved.
I think Baldur's Gate is fine, but it was also very, very broken when it launched, and the end game wasn't very good. I'm glad that they changed it over time, and also just like, it's kind of too big. You know, I actually don't know anybody who beat it. I haven't beat it. I, like, got bored of it, you know? There was too much to do, too much to keep up with, and I was having to do other things. Baldur's Gate is a game for somebody who, like, sits at home 24/7 pulling in a disability check. Because, like, no real person has time to play Baldur's Gate 3 and beat it.
Involved with it, and obviously they delivered big time. Now, can Bethesda do the same with The Elder Scrolls 6? I don't know, but I genuinely think that that is the type of pressure that they have to know that's going into this project. And I do think the game has to be great, especially with the massive gap between Skyrim and this new installment. And if it's anything less, you're going to hear it from fans. And obviously, I'll never get behind people going after developers and such, but this does fall on leadership. Leadership needs to understand the anticipation and the expectations that fans have for this new installment. But this is where things get really interesting, because one of the big things that has hurt Bethesda over the years is their game engine. This is something that goes as far back to the Skyrim days. I mean, hell, even to this day, it still runs horribly on PS3. The unofficial patch is still something that's very noteworthy with the impact that it had on this entire gaming industry.
And they're still releasing updates to break all of that shit.
The Gamebryo, which became the Creation Engine, and then the Creation 2.0, still to this day feels extremely dated and clunky. One of the earliest moments I remember just thinking to myself, this has to go. It's probably right around Fallout 4. That was the experience that said to me, like, I genuinely...
Yeah, we were all talking about, like, they need to do something about this Creation Engine problem. And then they didn't do anything. They made it worse. Then they released the Creation Club and all of that. Tried to have paid mods, all of that. Didn't work. People got very upset.
Really don't know why Bethesda Game Studios is continuing on this engine. But we actually heard recently from a former developer which parroted the same perspective that has been a very divided.
No, we do not need to do that. Just make a new engine.
Opinion for a long time now. Bethesda should abandon the Creation Engine for Unreal Engine 5.
You want to know my opinion on this? I think they should make it look like Daggerfall. Like that old style, that like blocky graphics, and then make it really, really modern. Modernize the blocky graphics. There are so many games right now, indie games, that are doing this, and they look fucking beautiful, man. And it's simple.
Says former dev, and this is specifically coming from a former Bethesda lead artist.
Make it look like a DOS game that got upgraded, like Daggerfall. Make it look like Daggerfall with 1,000 mods installed.
And he actually quit during Starfield's development because the team had grown too much. Now, Nate Perkypile has been extremely critical, I guess you could say over the last year or so, about what Bethesda Game Studios has become. Not necessarily just with the engine, but how the studio overall has just, it's no longer what it used to be.
They're going to have to do something absolutely crazy.
Now, he worked at Bethesda for 14 years, during which he was the lead artist on Fallout 76, and he worked on other titles including Fallout 3, Fallout 4, and Skyrim. Before that, he worked at Retro Studios. Now, Perkypile left Bethesda in 2021 to form his own solo studio called Just Perky Games, and Perkypile said that while he enjoyed his time at Bethesda, he left during the development of Starfield because the team size had become far too large in his opinion. And this is kind of one of those concerns that a lot of people have with modern development studios. I mean, this is one of the
bloat.
Big things I had as a criticism with BioWare and what became of that studio, especially in the recent years. And it's no longer the BioWare that...
Yeah, and then you start getting so many people that, like, they get together and they kind of become a cult, and then they push out all of the people that they think is a problem. Usually people that are better than them, because they get jealous of their position or jealous of how awesome they are at making games, and they're like, they're making us look bad. We have to push them out.
We all fell in love with, especially during the Mass Effect trilogy days. But even of the new Rising Star Studios, looking at the Sandfall Interactive, what they accomplished with Expedition 33, I was extremely hopeful after that experience that they didn't expand beyond what they were. And that's one of the things that they came out specifically saying, we're not going to expand into this giant behemoth studio. We're going to keep the core vision, this creative group that made this game, we're going to keep it to what it is.
Yes.
And that's, I think, a smart thing.
I want to see what other games this studio is going to come out with. Not like even a sequel to Expedition 33. I don't think we need one. I think whatever new game they come up with is going to be incredible too.
Especially in this day and age with how we've seen so many development studios being harmed by expanding way too big.
Yep.
Now, Perkypile goes on to say, I know...
Yeah, and then you lose the heart and the soul, and then you literally are just trying to corporatize to make as much money as possible, make it as big as possible. And then you got 100 people putting their own ideas into it,
A lot of people have thoughts on Starfield and how it probably is too
It becomes a jumbled, bloated mess.
big,
And they
should have been
chase
smaller,
trends.
etc. I agree with a lot of that. And while I enjoyed working at Bethesda a lot when we were about 65 to 110 people on Fallout 3 and Skyrim, I enjoyed
Yeah, a big problem that Bethesda has right now is there's too many games that are like the games that they used to make. They need to do something else. They need to do something crazy. They need to actually take a risk and not just make the same type of game that they've always made. And I think they need to go back to the DOS days and take a look at what made like Daggerfall great and copy that and literally copy the graphics. Like do that, like Doom style. That Fallout Doom overhaul game is absolutely embarrassing them.
it a lot less as it grew and grew. And this is something that, again, a lot of developers have talked about.
Like, look at this. Fallout Bakersfield. Doom Total Conversion mod. Like, this is what they need to do. They need to go for this. They need to go for stuff that looks like this.
Greetings to you all, ladies and gentlemen. For our first tune, I'd climb...
Because this is just, like, incredible. It looks so good, even though it technically looks bad. And I think people are hungry for stuff like this. This is just good, man. I can't wait for this to come out. Like, why can't they do something this cool? Because they're chasing trends, trying to make everything look the best that it's ever looked and bloat it.
Think he beat your head now.
And you don't have to do that. Incredible. This looks better than Fallout 4 in my opinion, just because it's got a style to it. Moving on to further news, Xbox panics over ditching physical backlash. Claims they'd never betray their customers. What? Actual clown show. Because every single time you turn around, they betray the customers.
Xbox is going through some major turmoil right now. Game Pass cancellations, rumors circulating about them leaving the physical market, and now, of course, they have had to come out and damage control. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, over the past couple of weeks, we have heard about several...
Oh, I need to move me. Hold on. There we go.
Stores removing their Xbox stock, and it's led us all to believe that they're getting out of the physical game market. And also, months ago,
I think they need to get into the collectible physical game market and make everything collectible again.
Found out that Xbox was toning back or scaling back the amount of physical games they were actually putting out, and when they were selling you a box, it just came with the digital code. I've talked about this in a couple of videos now, but we had found out that the release dates for Outer Worlds 2 and Ninja Gaiden 4 were revealed during the Xbox Game Showcase, and pre-orders had gone up for those wanting to snag their copies early. And unfortunately, it seemed as though large retailers such as Best Buy weren't actually taking pre-orders for standard physical copies. And of course, even if they were, it was not going to actually be a disc because both games were getting standard physical editions on PS5, suggesting that Xbox was just about done selling their games on physical discs.
I think we need to get offline consoles again. I mean, sure, we can have online games on these consoles, but like, I think we need to go back to the PS2, Xbox 360 style games, where when games came out, they just worked, and there wasn't any in-game stores or anything like that.
And the Xbox versions for Outer Worlds 2 and Ninja Gaiden
I think that's the only way that we have a comeback.
4 were literally just download codes in boxes, which is why this news that we had heard about them potentially not selling games and consoles in stores anymore was pretty believable. It said, according to Reddit users who...
You know what I'm waiting to happen, because it's definitely going to happen? There's going to be some random company come out of nowhere that's going to have like a $150 to $200 console with physical only games that have no in-game stores or anything. It's like indie games and stuff like that, AA games. I'm waiting for that to happen. There is a market for that, and it hasn't happened yet, and it's just a matter of time.
Claimed to work at Target and Walmart, both stores had begun removing their Xbox stock en masse. On Wednesday, the Target I work for has removed all Xbox.
People are hungry for offline games that just work when you buy them, that aren't $80. Like, and are completely super collectible. People are hungry for this, and it's not anywhere you look in the gaming space. The closest you got is Nintendo, and you know what happened with the Switch too.
Games, and they were pretty sure it was store-wide. Another said my local Target is getting rid of their Xbox section. The electronics manager says they will no longer carry systems, games, or accessories. He also said all Targets in Kansas City's area are purging Xbox stock as well. Another said the Walmart store they work for is getting rid of Xbox games too. They were doing a store remodel, and the new layout for electronics will have no Xbox games, and Switch and PlayStation will be condensed. Though now Xbox has had to come out and damage control over this. It says that from this post spawned a number of stories where other Redditors began sharing that they hadn't seen stock within their local Target or Walmart stores for months. Counter reports came in from various sources like Destin, who shared the following. I just called my local Walmart to ask if they were discontinuing or pulling Xbox stock. They said, at least to my knowledge, I haven't heard anything about clearing inventory or anything like that, or about them being discontinued. And now we've found out that Microsoft has given them a statement noting that Walmart and Target at large are still committed partners. They simply said Target and Walmart, among other retailers, remain committed partners for Xbox consoles.
Yeah, they're just gonna make the game card section bigger.
Accessories and games, and there are actually a lot of people that do not believe this, because why is it that there are so many reports circulating that Microsoft's offerings at these stores are being condensed? But of course, when you pair those reports with the news that they are only selling codes in boxes, and every company wants to get out of the physical market because it's much cheaper, right? They don't have to deal with production costs, shipping costs, storage costs. It really seems like this is at least their plan in the future. Now, if it's happening on a large scale, I don't know. It doesn't sound like that given what Microsoft is saying, but a lot.
Yep, they tried to chase the dollar and destroyed the entire culture of buying things. They destroyed the culture of midnight releases. GameStop, I think, is actually who started all of this by shitifying the gaming culture and trying to profit so much off of it. And then when they stopped making a profit, they made it even worse, chasing that dollar. And it just kind of got worse from there for everything and everyone else.
Of people genuinely do not believe them, and right.
Yeah, they need to start actually building culture again instead of trying to chase the dollar.
So,
but they're not going to do that.
Here's just one of the many threads on the topic where people are saying they'll deny it until the very end. Then they'll try to confuse the Madden FIFA audience by calling PCs and PC handhelds Xboxes. It's not an Xbox if it doesn't actually run console Xbox games.
Right? My TV is not an Xbox. My computer is not an Xbox. Why would I play Xbox games on my computer? Why would I do that?
Streaming doesn't count. Costco remains a dedicated Xbox seller. They still sell TVs, right? TVs are Xboxes. Believe us, don't believe your lying eyes. You know what they say about rumors. There's always truth in them. Xbox staying put at Target and Walmart. Guess my conspiracy theory about a secret console vault was wrong. And
dude, whenever we all come together like this, we end up being proven right. And you know what's going to happen if we are right? They're going to try and make it so we're not right, and they're going to make everything worse, and it's going to come true anyway.
So the blame game begins. Target and Walmart, amongst other retailers, remain committed partners for Xbox consoles, accessories, and games. Press X'd it out, and it's so sad that we've got into
when they're lying at every turn, we don't believe them.
this point. I know that companies do really shady things. This is why I always
And also, like, they're making promises of things that they're going to do in the future, and they never keep their promises. So why are we going to believe them? Why do they think we're going to believe them? Because we don't.
say, do not trust them. They don't have your best interests in mind, but
Yep, they have the best interest of how much money they can make.
when they make such big promises, we expect them to be able to uphold those. And of
And so far, they have done none of that.
course, they haven't. They don't care about our feedback. They don't care about what
Yeah, if you have actual criticism, you're just a hater.
gamers want. And I do think that they are going to really start feeling the burn from that, especially with the Game Pass cancellations, the fact that they can't raise their prices to 80 for standard editions of games, or else they're going to face a behemoth amount of backlash. Plus, the $1,000 handheld that they've announced has not gone over super smoothly for them. Sure.
Yeah, nobody's gonna buy that. What? Like, they're not buying the $700 console or however much it costs. They're definitely not going to buy the $1,000 handheld. Especially when everything's an Xbox, you could just get a Steam Deck.
They just aren't on shelves because everyone went to buy a shitty box. Yep, that's it. It's definitely not because the Xbox is a dead console. And this is so sad for me because I have a lot of love and nostalgia for Xbox. The 360 days were phenomenal. I've purchased every Xbox up until now. I'm not going to.
That's not Xbox. That is a completely different thing. Xbox 360 is not Xbox. That was a different time, different company, different people.
Be buying the handheld, that's for sure. But when you are marketing everything you own as an Xbox, yeah, you can't expect people to go out of their way to buy a dedicated console.
If everything's an Xbox, nothing is an Xbox.
And I think that they want out of the console market. I've said this for years now.
And it's the same with the audience. If you are going after an audience that includes everyone, then your audience will be made up of no one.
Do genuinely believe the next one will be the last because they've consistently lost money on them, but at the same time, they're facing major backlash over this, and rightfully so. Microsoft.
I saw how she noticed that there were some titties, and she was like, I'm just going to scroll up a little bit.
Can F off. And over the past couple of years, they've lied to us a lot, right? They said after the Activision acquisition, oh, we're not going to go through layoffs. We're not going through any major game cancellation.
Dude, and we're already hearing rumors of thousands of people going to be laid off at the beginning of 2026.
Xbox and Activision are going to, stay the companies and the studios you expect us to be, and then
now let's move on to some actual good news, which actually I think all of that other stuff is good news if you look at it from my perspective, because all the AAA slop corporate garbage is going away, and we're getting good stuff, man. We're getting real good stuff out of nowhere. It's just like stuff ends up dropping and we're like, it becomes a phenomenon. And at this point, it happens so often that it's not even really a phenomenon anymore. It's just kind of expected. We're all just waiting for the random drop of some crazy game that's just going to take over the market. By the way, we are facing some financial troubles here at the farm. Not just me. People are always like, oh, if you're facing financial troubles, why don't you get a job? It's not just me here. By the way, I do work. I do make money. It's just we collectively, there's a bunch of us here, and we don't make enough money, and we all work. We just don't have enough. So if you'd like to donate to the Folly Farm, is what I call it. That's not actually what it's called, but I don't want to tell people what it's actually called, because then they'll find us. But if you'd like to donate, I got a link down there in the comments. That'd be awesome, man. Nobody was supposed to play this game. I haven't played this game yet, but everybody else is, apparently. Oh. There we go.
Done everything wrong, but it's still winning. In the middle of
What was it?
This is insane. This game has done everything wrong, but it's still winning. In the middle of the busiest release schedule of 2025, we are talking about some of the heaviest hitters in both...
Shit, boy, I thought that was a raccoon that jumped up there.
Indie and in AAA. A little game called Megabonk comes out of nowhere.
Megabonk!
And
I don't know anything about this game. I might have to get it.
is sold so consistently and so regularly and has so many players that are playing it that it is now directly competing with Borderlands 4 and Ghost of Yote.
How about that? How about that? I've been saying this shit was gonna happen, man. We're gonna start getting slapper indie games and slapper AA games that are just gonna embarrass the AAA corporate slop. This is what happened with Schedule 1 also.
You're talking about games that have spent likely hundreds of millions.
What was that one game? Was it like Vampire Masquerade or something where it was like a twin stick shooter type?
Of dollars just on their marketing budgets versus a game that spent literally nothing, at least that's the way it looks from my perspective. This game's success is entirely organic. It's grass-fed. It's homegrown. It's a game that was relatively unknown, only had
it has actual soul.
Few devlogs on YouTube. It has now become one of the most talked about and played games this year, and
I can't get away from
it. You know, if I was working at one of these AAA companies, if I was on their board of executives, I would have a lot of questions because while these guys keep talking about how prices need to go up on just about everything that they have.
Yeah, because games cost too much to make. And then games like this keep just like dropping out of the woodwork and absolutely embarrassing them.
It looks like they're wasting money to me.
Yeah.
Because you have a guy.
Dude, they're focusing on the life cycle of the ants and like the textures of every single pebble on a walkway. It's just like, dude, they're super focused on the lighting and the water, and they're not stylizing anything.
Solo developer, yet again, that made a game that's based off of memes in one of the most saturated genres in all of indie games, and he's making them look like fools. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the success of Megabonk and how against all odds the game that did everything wrong is somehow actually doing everything right.
And this is the first time that I'm seeing anything about Megabonk. I haven't looked at it. I've been seeing people that have been playing it, and I'm like, I don't know what this is, so I'm just going to have to wait and see. And apparently it absolutely exploded.
Why a game like this has continued to grow, and why I think they planned it all. But before that, this video is sponsored by boot.dev, the best way, and honestly the fastest way that I've found to be able to learn back-end development without getting bored or giving up halfway through.
I actually tried out boot.dev. I don't have the patience to actually learn how to code, but I've heard that it's really, really good. And I liked using it when I was using it. I just don't have time.
I've been testing it myself, and what really sets it apart is how it feels more like a game than a course. You're not just passively watching videos, you're writing real code from the very first lesson, building projects in Python and Go, and actually preparing yourself for the kind of back-end jobs that pay well over 6 figures in the US. Boot.dev solved the hardest problem with e-learning, boredom, by, well, just making...
Dude, stuff like this, it's gonna make it so much worse for the AAA corporate money-chasing companies. It's gonna be so bad, man. So good, though. So good. Definitely grab his code if you want to check that out.
Fascinating about these indie success stories is how almost none of them are ever alike. Sure, they might share a genre, a theme, maybe a budget, but they almost never share the exact same set of conditions.
Yeah, this is what I've been saying, man. None of these companies are taking any risks. They're trying to make every single game the same, and they're chasing trends. Like with the Assassin's Creed Shadows, they just made it slightly different from Valhalla and changed the setting. But otherwise, it's pretty much just the same thing. They took no risk. They like to pretend that putting a black gay samurai in there is a risk. But that's just what every other AAA corporate slot money-chasing company does.
Make them blow up. Schedule 1 was passed around because it had its free demo, a absurdly long offering of over 80 hours of gameplay just in the demo alone, and the only reason people found it was because they started pushing it on streamers like Queso. Pal World was an incredibly fun game on its own, but its over-the-top tone and its controversy with Nintendo turned what could have been an obscure indie curiosity into one of the most talked-about releases in the past 5 years. Balatro, Expedition 33. We can continue to go down the list, and it's going to be the same. In almost every single one of these cases, there was some strange hook, some defining trait that helped these games to rise above the rest and make traditional marketing feel entirely pointless.
They do some crazy shit and take risks, and I guess they don't really even take risks. They're just putting heart and soul into it and like making things that they think would be cool and fun instead of chasing trends and trying to make as much money as possible. I don't think they would have cared. I don't think Pal World really would have cared if they would have made very little money.
Games didn't succeed despite the system. They succeeded outside of the system, reaching heights that
they succeeded because the system is broken.
The most expensive AAA releases in recent years can't even touch, even after spending hundreds of millions of dollars trying to buy the exact same attention. Which brings us to the latest success, and honestly one of the weirdest ones yet, Megabonk, developed by a solo dev going under the name Bethesda. For whatever reason, if you guys haven't heard of this game, it's a survivor-like that's built off the exact same formula that was popularized by Vampire Survivors, a genre that has completely...
Vampire Survivors, that's what it was, not Vampire Masquerade. That's a different game.
He flooded the indie space at this point. We are way past the point of saturation here. Every theme, every IP, every niche seems to have one of these games right now. There's Hollow Cure with its VTuber cast, Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, Heretical, which is essentially Diablo as a survivor, Halls of Torment, 20 Minutes Till Dawn. The list doesn't just end. So when I say that a game like this shouldn't have succeeded, I mean it, because there are just so many of them out there, and while a lot of these games do just fine, true breakout success is an entirely different story when a genre is this crowded, but Megabonk did it. As of recording this video, Megabonk hit a peak of over 117,000 concurrent players on Steam, but it didn't start there. It launched at barely 3,000 players. It doubled that number the next day, then it climbed another 5,000 and 10,000 almost every single day until it broke 100,000 players. That kind of steady day-by-day growth almost...
Also, the way this looks, it's just, it makes me very interested. I've been seeing it on the... hold on. The way this thumbnail looks makes me super interested. I've been seeing it on Steam, and I've been like, I like the way this looks from this, and it doesn't tell me anything about what this game is, but at the same time, it tells me everything. Damn it. Hold on. How much is this game? I might have to buy it. It is $10, but there's a demo. I could get a demo, apparently. Yeah, this looks crazy good. And it's very weird. And that retro style that I've been saying that everybody is craving.
Every single day until it broke 100,000 players. That kind of steady day-by-day growth almost never happens, and once you look into how this game actually reached those players, it starts to make perfect sense. The first thing, and probably the most obvious, is the price. Yet another game that's sitting at about $10 or less, making it easy entry point for just about anyone. It doesn't feel like a commitment.
That is exactly in my price point. That is how much I am willing to pay for games nowadays. And I'll pay for the AAA slot games if they're good. They don't even have to be great. If they're good and I'm interested in them and they're on sale for $10, I'll pick it up. But that's exactly why these games are destroying AAA games, because I'm not paying these prices, man. I'm paying $10.
Than McDonald's, and with it being on Steam, if you don't like it, you can just refund it. Nothing here is making you feel like you're locked in, you're not married to the game, something that we cannot say for a majority of the games that have released recently. Now, on top of that, during its launch week, the developer put it on sale for $8. Imagine that. It's actually something that I've seen more and more indie games start to do lately, and it's incredibly smart. It gives people a reason to take a chance right away. Why do they want to buy today? That's a question that some of these developers need to be asking themselves, especially right now when we are in the middle of a huge flood of releases, most of them $70 games with hardware prices that are skyrocketing around them. People do not have a lot of extra cash that's sitting around right now, but $8 or $10, I mean, anybody can scrape that together without a second thought. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I think Megabonk is some revolutionary leap forward for the survivor genre. I've been playing it. I've definitely been addicted to it. But what I think really sets this game apart is that it's fully 3D and it heavily leans into mechanics that have been ripped straight out of Risk of Rain 2, which I love, by the way, because it's a game that I have over 1,000 hours into. And, well, that also makes me realize just how dangerous it is for me to be playing a game like this. But movement and positioning play a massive role in the game. You got to think about how you're traversing the map and how your abilities work. The game heavily leans into memes.
Yeah, and it's got the skeleton on the skateboard, man. I've been super into playing skateboarding. I've been playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 a little bit. I fucking love that game, man. And like the original Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, I'm actually about to start up American Wasteland again and go through the campaign of that, or the story mode, whatever you want to call it. But like, I think skateboarding is making a huge comeback, especially with that skate game that a lot of people love, even though it's completely fucking broken.
Culture with characters and items named things like,
I think people love it because it's broken.
Mega Chad, Burgor, and a tree boss named Bark Vader. The game is just really lighthearted, absurd, and fun. And honestly, that's what sold me on the game, because there's just so many full-priced games out right now that require 70 hours of progression even to feel like you just even started the game. They take themselves so seriously, and guys, I'm just kind of tired of it at this point. I just want something I can jump in and jump out of. I don't feel like I need to make time for it. I feel refreshed after playing it.
Yeah, and they're not taking risks anymore. I've been playing the first Fear game, and dude, the mechanics are just different. Like, whenever I was up on a ramp in the parking garage, I would slide backwards. And that just makes sense.
Need to memorize controls or mechanics, and it's what makes games like this so great, because you can just learn by feeling. And game feel is something that's just entirely lost on this industry right now. Hell, I largely don't even need to think while I'm playing this game, but that doesn't mean that the game can't get serious. Mechanically, the game is incredibly simple, but you got to make sure that you have a solid build by the time you reach each stage's final boss. Otherwise, you're just going to get hammered. You got to have the movement nailed down. You got to have multiple layers of protection stacked up. Otherwise, you're just going to get...
Dude, that's where I'm going to leave this video, man. You should definitely check out that link down there in the comments. That would make me so happy. AAA gaming's absolutely cooked. They're going to have to make a change, huge change, or we're going to start seeing the AA and indie games become the AAA companies. And then all of the AAA slop, they're going to be competing with all of these games that actually can take risks. And they're going to completely fail, because that's what's happening here. This is directly competing with games like Borderlands. And when you got a $10 game that's directly competing with an $80 game, $90, $100, because you're going to have to pay for that DLC, you're going to have to pay for those skin packs, microtransactions and stuff. They can't do it, man. They cannot compete with this. I'll see you in the next one.